Hey friends, Pastor Michael from Organic Church. We're excited for another season of growing together. We'd love to have you join us on Sunday mornings at 10 or Wednesday evenings at 7 for friends, family, and a whole lot of Jesus. The big one's gonna have.
I bought those at Lowe's.
The big one's gonna have to come out.
Maybe it was one of those ones your man brought you.
We're either gonna have to split that one or just get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's way too big.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
plus,
you split it.
It needs.
I think he's just coming late.
Yeah,
I think
Nick's
it
just
needed
coming late.
down deeper.
Yes.
Too.
Well,
planted deep.
That shrub that's over there, that strawberry hydrangea shrub, you can't dig any further. I don't know if that's the footer of the building.
Oh,
But when you dig, like you hit, and it's a
Yeah.
block. It's a
Yeah,
cinder
you're
block.
hitting.
So
Mhm.
it's going to have to be moved at some point too.
Yeah.
so like your future plants, you probably can't get like big bushes or anything because you're supposed to have a big deep hole.
I don't want anything that has to be maintained.
Yeah.
The original plan was hedge clippers. I can come through with a hedge trimmer,
Yep.
cut it all back,
Yep.
and that's that. Well, that's escalated quickly.
We probably need more mulch out there.
Oh, yes. Well, we want to pull the plastic out before we do any mulch.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Just wait until next spring then.
no, we're at least going to pull the plastic this year. And then I think what we're going to do is we're going to re-level the mulch for this year. And then next year, we're going to lay a layer over top of what's currently there because it's already packed down so tight rather than trying to scrape it all out. So.
Yeah.
There's Nick. He made it.
I elected to take Maggie to her friend's house at the last minute.
Oh,
Spending the night, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to have to go into town.
No,
And
cheese.
come all the way back
Oh,
home to get to the church.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can't do any turning. I came over Indian Hill, so
That's what-
Beth Ann called me. I'm like, I don't know. You were able to.
You can turn left from Uricksville to come in, but you cannot turn right from southbound.
yeah.
So
And then you can't turn. What is it?
you can't turn.
When you're coming back from like McDonald's or
You can only turn right out of there, can't you?
yes.
And it changes every couple of days.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if you know what it's like to wait on a 14-year-old girl.
who's getting ready for a sleepover to boot?
Yeah.
We're on.
How many pairs of pajamas do I need to pack? How many pairs of shoes do I need?
You leave Maggie alone, okay, Nick? Michael's here with us
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah,
Yay.
I like this.
Welcome
topic.
back.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll reel you back in.
I don't know.
I'm
I
kidding.
don't know. I'm trying to steal Roger from you.
That's true.
I am.
Yeah.
Listen, if we don't get working on that sound or any of that stuff soon, we're not going to be over there before Christmas. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal.
Well, if we wouldn't keep changing the plans.
Listen, hey, did I make it easier this time? No, I made it easier. You made it harder.
Well, if you wouldn't have changed the plans, we wouldn't have had to make it harder.
So we're working on the sound booth that's in the gym space right now. So by the time I got here, Roger had the outside frame done and we were running the supports up the middle. And I was standing on it and I said to him, does it really need to be 16 inches high or are we okay with the 8 inches high? Because it's one step rather than two steps. He goes, well, if we do 8 inches, we don't have to build a step. Saves us some labor, right?
Right.
So we were short on a couple of the boards anyway. So we're going to have to go buy boards. I was like, so I called Dan, Sound Tech, and I was like, is there any reason we need to be up 16 inches? He's like, well, it's nice. He's like, but the speakers are up really high in there. He said, so it really doesn't matter. I said, 8 inches it is. So Roger and I had agreed that we were done building the base. We need to start laying the floor so then we can start framing the walls.
But
We do all the math to frame the walls. We figure out all the stuff we're doing. And we turn around and we look and I start to laugh. And he said, what? There's a door for the ball pit, what we call the ball pit, where
Yeah.
you keep the basketball and all the dodgeballs in the wall. He had cut that off so that it would open inside of the 16 inches. So now there's a great big gap in that
Oh.
in that hole.
Oh,
So
please.
now we're drywalling it.
Was there any doubt in your mind it would be your fault, Roger?
nope.
Well, he said to me, I said, well, we can just rebuild the door. He goes, no, we just need to drywall it, which is what we said we needed to do in the first place.
Right.
But we didn't want to do it. So, because
Yeah.
neither of us like to drywall.
No one likes to
He says to me, he
drywall.
says, I'll hang it if you finish it. I'm like, that's the part I don't want to do. I'll hang it. Like, that's not the problem.
You can call Dan the drywall man.
I can. Yeah.
I don't know if he's still around, actually.
Well, Dan Burroway does drywall too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Who else?
Casey.
Casey does drywall.
Ricky McDaniel. He's a little goofy, but he does the best work.
If
He
he
really does.
We had a guy that did that whole back wall, skim coated that whole back wall for us, did a bunch of work. Love him. But he works the same place Casey does.
Oh,
What is
the
that-
Skyline?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I texted him to have him originally do that. And he's like, yeah, I'm not doing side jobs right now. It's just too much. And I was like, well, we ain't drywalling it then.
How about the guy down from you, Dawn? Does he still do it anymore? Down from your dad?
Here's the thing. It doesn't
No.
matter. At this point, Roger and I are hanging drywall.
Yeah.
It's a 4x4 sheet. It's tiny square, but I mean, finishing it like to feather it out and get it right. And then we have to prime it and paint it. And it's just an ordeal.
Yeah.
Maybe we can talk somebody else into priming it and painting it.
Yeah.
Tyler, if you're listening, Tyler's chief painter. He's the paint foreman.
So when you guys are doing all this work, are you thinking...
Are we arguing with each other?
No,
Yes.
are you being advocates of the Christian lifestyle?
Oh,
Being
yeah.
advocates of
Oh, yeah.
Jesus, right?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying
No,
to
we
spin
don't
this
have-
conversation.
We don't have any, like anytime we work on this stuff, like we don't really have.
You're not F-bombing it?
No, no. Now, do we get to the point where we're like, all right, that didn't work, and we
Right.
sit there for 20 minutes staring at each other like we're gonna just leave. We're
Yeah.
quitting and never
Done.
coming back. But
Yeah.
no, we.
Sometimes there's times where you just have to stop and take a
Yeah.
break.
Well, we felt victorious today when we got to the floor. We're like, oh, we're done since we're only going to go 8 inches, and then we realized
Yeah, there's a big hole back there.
big hole in the wall.
Like 8 by 30, 8 by 48 hole.
So
Now it's 48 by 48.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, Michael, do you want to introduce this topic since you were very...
I don't remember exactly how you phrased it.
Well, let's... Right here.
Oh, yeah.
What does it look like to be a Christian in the business world?
Yeah. So I like this one simply because it's my life. It's what I do. I live in the business world. And I'll tell you, it's interesting, even since I agreed to come on, just the stuff that changes and what your attitude looks like towards those things. I'm fortunate. I work for, Beth, you're in this kind of same situation. I work for an organization that was founded by 3 men who were all on staff. Actually, 2 of the 3 were on staff at a local church, a large local church. They were volunteers in media, ministry, like creative design, senior leadership roles. Like they've
Yeah.
been in. So we're fortunate in that aspect.
Yeah.
However, it's interesting to watch the cycles in businesses who come from the church world, which is why I wanted to share. So we started out as a family business. It's dad and 2 sons running a theater, basically. The theater world is what they know. It's what they do. They know how to make people laugh, and they know how to pop popcorn, right?
So to be clear,
what-
the
what else is
theater came first.
The theater was the first. That was the
didn't know
brainchild.
that.
And here's how that happened. They realized that there's nothing to do in Amish country
Sure.
after 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And so they went to a friend of theirs and they said, hey, listen, we want you to write, produce, and be in shows at this theater. They rented an old warehouse and they renovated it to look like the inside of a barn.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if anybody had ever been to the old theater, it was in a giant warehouse, basically. So then there was an they kept talking about the idea that, we can entertain them. What about, like, we're driving revenue for
Yeah.
all of these hotels in the area. It'd be nice if we could get a piece of that pie, basically.
Yeah.
So the dad, one of his brothers, said to him, hey, I know a lady that's selling a piece of land, interested in buying it, like basically brokered a deal for him. So they bought a huge piece of land and started putting together plans to build a hotel. Well, in the midst of building the hotel, they decided to just attach the theater. Now they own the building versus leasing it. They could do whatever they wanted with it, and they get kind of a fresh start. And in the midst of that, they decided, well, why don't we build an event center? Then we can feed them, house them, and entertain them. And so they built this complex, basically. It's 3 buildings all attached that you can come in and book a room, go over, see a show. And it used to be that we would feed you. We don't feed you anymore. That's a whole nother. That's when you lose your religion. Food service. I think anybody who works in food service, I don't think it's possible for them to be Christian.
No. Me and Beth are like, no, that's healthcare right now.
I don't think so.
and Dawn.
Definitely.
I'll be honest. Like I've never in my life. I've got some traumatic stories from food service. I watched a girl. This is not a joke. Spill an entire pot of soup in the middle of the lobby of the hotel. Trying to take it up the elevator and hit one of the uneven spots in the tile and just tipped over.
Was she
the-
okay?
Oh, she was fine. No, she was fine.
burnt.
She was behind it, pushing it on a cart. Hit the bump. Thing just spills all over the floor. And now you've got 120 people that you're about to try to feed, and you're down an entire container of soup. Guess what? Doesn't end well.
No.
So they built the building. Theater still thriving. Hotels, though, not something that they're super familiar with. So they had hired me in 2018 to come on as their AGM, and I actually passed on the opportunity because I had just taken a leadership or taken a class in Tuscarawas County called Leadership Tusk, which was a fantastic class for me. And I had to remain in Tuscarawas County to be in the class. So I didn't want to leave. Plus, my company had paid for it. So I was like, no, I'll wait. Then 2019 rolled around and I became senior pastor here. When that happened, I knew I couldn't stay at the job that I was at because, I mean, it's not a joke.
Yeah.
Me being very honest right now, which is kind of the fun of this.
And you shared this before.
Yeah, I've shared this plenty of times. Every day, my boss was very specific, very particular about when we arrived and left from work. Okay, it doesn't matter if your work is done. You didn't leave until 5 o'clock. You came in at 9 and you worked until 5. Sometimes you came in at 8 and you worked until 5, but you didn't leave until 5 o'clock, ever. So at 4 o'clock, I would go over to the bar we had in the hotel. I'd get myself a bottle of Stella Rosa Black. I'd take it back to my office. I would open it and I would finish the entire bottle before I left at 5 o'clock. And I realized I cannot live like this and decided I was going to leave. Like that was just that. So I resigned from that position. I put in a 4-week notice, and 3 or 4 days after I put in that notice, those owners called me again and said, hey, listen, we've got an opportunity to we need somebody to help us fill in at the theater. Would you be interested in doing that? My wife and I went and saw a show, which was an Elvis impersonator. It was terrible, by the way. It was really bad. It was so bad. And then they hired me to come on basically in more of a consultant's situation. Like I wasn't going to be full-time. I was going to be part-time. Long and short of it, within a couple of weeks, I was running the whole hotel. It happened very quickly. I don't know how it happened. But so there was really no knowledge on their side from the hotel standpoint. And so I was coming in, I don't want to say to rescue it, but to like give them some footing. Like they would ask me questions like, well, how long should it take to clean a hotel room? Anybody know the answer to that?
Is it like 3 minutes?
No. Oh, no.
No.
Longer?
Oh, it's a lot longer than 3 minutes to clean a whole hotel room.
Let's hope so.
To flip it? Like
To flip a hotel room.
25 minutes.
Was it 10 minutes?
You're close.
13.
No,
Half hour?
it's 28 minutes.
Cindy used to do it, but I don't know
28
if she ever
Now,
knew that.
That also is an average based on the size of the rooms and the time that it takes. But anyhow, how much money should it cost for one person to eat breakfast on any given morning? The average price for breakfast
$10.
is $10. The average price is $10. So when you pay $189 for a hotel room, $20 of that, if it's 2 guests, $20 of that, they account for breakfast. And then they account for, like, we pay our housekeepers per clean. So they get paid based on the number of units that they clean in a day's time. But we basically take that and we break it down, and then whatever's left over at the end of the day after you've paid gas, water, electric, all that fun stuff. Anyhow, so I was there for a short while, and then we started buying cabin properties. Cabins saved us during COVID. It was what kept us alive. But I say all of that to get us to where we are today. So you operate 3 ways. You operate as a family business, which are 3 guys who know how to run a theater.
So they're still in the theater running it all. Like
They are still in the entire business running it all. They are still
do
active.
they focus more on the theater?
No.
Okay.
So you ask the question now, are they owners or they owner operators? Like, do they want to be owners and step out and let other people run it, or do they still want to operate some of the business? And it's a tricky question that they haven't yet been able to answer for themselves. But the challenge is we operated as a family business for a long time, which meant you move fast and you make decisions on the fly. And if you don't like it, you change it later.
Yeah.
Right? So you have the ability to do that. It's kind of how we operate right now in the church. We'll make a decision. We're going to run with this. We don't like that. We're going to change it. Like it's because we're still small enough that we can do that.
Sure.
But as you start to grow in size, you have to adjust your mindset and how you operate.
Mhm.
So then you move from family business, small business mode into what I have deemed church mode.
Mhm.
So the church mode it's a little bit slower. It's a little bit methodical. You don't hold people accountable because you don't want your volunteers to quit. You don't correct anybody because you don't want to hurt feelings.
Mhm.
You try to we just overlook it. Unless they're burning something down, we don't really say anything. And everybody gets really complacent and really like laid back. And
Mhm.
you start showing up to work in blue jeans or maybe even shorts and a tank top. Like life it gets different.
Mhm.
And then you grow to the point to where you can't operate like that anymore because stuff's starting to burn.
Yeah.
Like things are changing and
There
you're
needs
like,
to be expectations.
we're not holding anybody accountable. And so they're not getting better. The business isn't getting better. And now we're getting stagnant. When you're down 10%, you ask why? Well, it's because we didn't do any marketing because we haven't had to do marketing.
Yeah.
And you start to get in this weird spot. So then you move into business mode. So you really start to talk about like board of directors. You start to talk about CFOs, CEOs, COOs, presidents, things like that. That's a huge shift.
Yeah. It is.
Going from small business where I thrive because again, you can move fast and you make a decision, you don't like it, change it. When you get through church mode, then you get to the new business mode. It changes a lot because you're still methodical about your decisions because you want to look at the overall good of the business. But sometimes it slows you down to the point of being detrimental.
Mhm.
So those three guys came from church world. And so it was easy for them to naturally operate in church world. Now, when we've moved into business mode, and if they ever listen to this, they'll go, yeah, it's probably true, but it might sound a little harsh. There's a trust issue.
Mhm.
This is our baby that we have birthed and we have held on to and we have run for all of these years. How can I trust you, who is not family, to run this?
Right. Mhm.
Because what if you decide to leave tomorrow? If you leave tomorrow,
What am I going to do?
I don't have somebody to backfill your role.
Mhm.
If I leave tomorrow, who's going to do this or who's going to do that? We're going to have to get re-involved and we don't want to be in that pain point.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that being a Christian in the business world is you have to absolutely operate with integrity at all times.
Mhm.
And that's the hardest thing to do. It is so easy to take shortcuts. It's super easy to go, you know what? I don't feel like being here today. I'm going to go home at noon.
Yeah. Well, especially with your job.
For me,
Yeah.
I go home at noon and nobody would know I was gone. I can still get my stuff done.
Yeah.
But then when you're not there and something goes sideways, honest to goodness, this is not a joke. I took a vacation. I don't take vacations very often. I took a vacation. First night I was gone, one of our units caught on fire. No joke.
Oh my gosh.
1:00 in the morning, my phone rings. I answer it. It's my customer service manager. And she goes, well, I don't really know how to say this, but there's one of the units is on fire. I'm really sorry to bother you. I'm like, no, this is what you're supposed to bother me for. Like, you can't make that stuff up, right? The minute that you aren't there,
The minute you disengage.
yes, something happens.
I'm
Every
dealing with
time.
that right now. I'm going on vacation next week and I'm like, it's like Nick says all the time. It's like, is it even worth going on a vacation?
No.
Because
It's painful when I come back.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm
Take
still
weeks to get back into.
and
like, I'm prepping them to be ready for when I'm gone.
Doesn't
and
matter.
It's still going to be a
Doesn't
disaster
matter.
when I come back, and I know I'm going to be ticked off.
I agree. I'm still trying to dig out of the.
I have
yeah.
They don't cover
See?
me, but
No.
yet
You'll
I
cover
can
for
be
them.
Expected to be covered.
Exactly.
For somebody else.
Exactly.
I have a great team. So like my hotel GM that runs the 2 hotels, fantastic. My customer service manager, she can run the cabins by herself. They don't need me, but there are things that I have to decide
Yeah.
that are basically still sitting on when I get there and there's a stack of mail on my desk about this thick because it has to be sorted, separated, coded before it can be sent to accounts payable.
Uh-huh.
That's not fun.
Uh-uh.
And you got a whole day of that. And it's the task that I hate the most.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Every credit card charge, I have to go through them line by line. Ain't nothing I hate more than those kind of jobs.
Do you guys have it's funny you say that because my doctor was just saying, he said because he just got back from vacation, he said, since auto pay, it's gotten so much easier. He said, I used to dread the first day back because he said, anytime I would not be with a patient, I would be going through all these bills on credit card statements and, just making sure everything's paid on time. But he's like, but now with auto pay, it has, significantly declined. So you've already thought of that.
We've got auto pay set up to make payments.
Uh-huh.
The problem is when you have a maintenance team of 6 and 7 guys
Mhm.
and every day they're sliding their card to buy bolts, nuts, screws,
Yeah.
door hinges, whatever. All of that has to be coded to the proper project, property,
And you're doing that?
it is my job.
Why?
Well, it's not my job to code it. They code it in a system called Expensify. And after they're done, it comes to me for final approval before it goes to the accounting department for them to actually code it in the system. So once that's done, then they run all of those numbers in the P&L, and then you can look at your maintenance line and all of that fun stuff. But you would be surprised. So we have, this is just like a one-off. Like we have a category that's called supplies. And that category is designed specifically for things that you would buy for general use. If you buy a box of screws that is not necessarily for a specific project, but that you're going to use, that would be a supply.
Yeah.
If you buy furnace filters, that would be considered a supply. However, if you're buying a door hinge for a specific property to repair a maintenance work order, that is repairs and maintenance. Everything's repairs and maintenance to them. Everything. And so it's a constant chasing of that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, that's when I need Jesus.
Yeah. And you tell them several times the difference between the two.
I send an email every quarter at the beginning of every quarter. Hey, friendly reminder, here's how this works. Doesn't matter.
That's how I used to have to watch. The hygienist would make the new appointment for the person, like whoever's sitting in their chair right now. They would make their appointment and pin it for the next appointment. And I'd have to see who was due for what. And typically, if your gum screening is this 6 months from now, then the alternating 6 months, you're going to get your x-rays done. They could not get that process for the life of them. So then I'd have to correct them every single day, or I'd have to go look and see. And it came to a point where they would see me in the hall and they'd think I'd be coming to correct them. I'm like, that's not my only job. Like, do you think I want to do that? No.
It'd be nice if you could just do it right
if you
first
could
time.
just do it right. Exactly.
You won't have to see me.
Operate in a spirit of excellence. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what.
But it's that integrity as Christians that when you get back after vacation, it makes you dig in with your heels and just say, okay,
Makes you grind.
I know I got to put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Yeah.
Well,
And you just do it. And you know it might take you however long it's going to take you. But because a lot of people would just say, well, I'll get to it when I get to it. I really don't care if we're weeks behind.
Well, that was part of my struggle. So I took the week of the 4th. I didn't take the whole week off. I worked Monday, Tuesday. And then I took Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. I took 2 of the boys to Great Wolf Lodge on Wednesday. We drove up Wednesday. They swam, did Magic Quest, did all of our things, spent the night. They swam most of the day Thursday, and then we drove home on Thursday. Obviously, Friday was the 4th. Nobody was in the office, so I just stayed home. I still worked, even when I was at Great Wolf Lodge, because I don't swim, so I still worked a little bit. But during that week, some things had happened at work that I didn't even tell my wife about initially. And it was during our Monday executive meeting, and this was the realization that we've gone from church mode to business mode. So the girl who reports to me is now running our operations meeting, which doesn't feel good, right? Like I'm her boss. Like that should be my job. I should be running this meeting. I will say this. She is far more gifted at it than I am.
And now you are like, this is my baby.
Yes.
You're
No, I'm not even,
no?
this is my baby. No, I'm like, okay, am I about to lose my job?
Oh.
Seriously.
Gotcha.
Because now we're going from what we called an executive team, the 3 owners and myself reporting to them directly, to now me and 2 other people reporting to them directly. So I used to have a once a week meeting with them every Monday. I would meet from 9:30 till 10. I would meet with them. And then the rest of my team would join them from 10 to 11. And it would be task oriented. We'd be going through projects and whatnot and like really running down the thing. And so I'm saying all of this. I'm not proud of any of this because, this is modern day. This is happening this week as we're speaking. We had our first round of meetings like that this week on Monday. And I walked in slightly unprepared because I had been out for 4 days. So they had been sending emails kind of discussing what it was going to look like, what that meeting structure was going to look like. Now, here's the thing. I don't like to meet for the sake of a meeting. If we're going to be in a room together, it needs to have some value. There needs to be, I want decisions made. I want to move on. So we get into the meeting and we're talking about like our core values and which do you most align with. And I get all of that is good. Don't get me wrong.
Our mission statement.
Yes. It is an absolute waste of my time is how I feel. Like if you don't know this about me already, why are we here? Right?
Yeah.
But that was that shift from church culture to business culture. And so I knew I had to be engaged, but I was not happy about it. I wasn't happy that I lost my half-hour meeting. because there are things that I go in there and say that I can't say in front of everybody.
Right.
And now I have to wait 3 weeks, really 4 weeks to get to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not going to be fun. And so now I'm mad, right? And everybody around me knows I'm mad. When I walk into my office, I shut the door behind me. I always work with my door open because I love to talk to people when they come through. Nope, not this week. Shut the door. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to get my work done. I'm going to get up. I'm going to leave. I don't want to talk to any of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not mad at any of the individuals. I don't like the direction. I'm confused and I'm scared, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
The problem is I've allowed that to override.
Your Christian.
I don't want to even call it but what I know God has called me to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Because he hasn't called me to worry about those things. He hasn't called me to stress about it. Now, did that force me to brush up my resume? Yup, sure did. And I'm not afraid to say that. Like, if my owners, and when I get to meet with them, we'll have that conversation. I'm going to be absolutely, this is where I'm
Sure.
at.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with what's happening. It worries me that I can't have an honest conversation with you because if I feel like if I do, it feels like or looks like I'm telling on somebody. And quite frankly,
backfires.
I don't know that I trust any of those other people you're meeting with.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what they're saying to you. If they're trying to like
Take your job, maybe.
and I don't even think that they would intentionally
Yeah.
be trying to do that, but like, well, I've asked for this and didn't get that.
Mhm.
Like, I also have tasks that I do during the day. So there's like this reel of thoughts that go through my brain. And
Yeah.
all of that comes from not having trusted my previous boss who said I had to stay until 5 o'clock every day.
Mm-hmm.
You had to be in by 9. You had to stay until 5. You couldn't blink wrong without her saying something.
Mm-hmm.
She would show up. She would there was no knocking on office doors. If your door was closed, she's just coming in.
Yeah.
It was her building as far as she was concerned. It didn't matter how you felt, what you thought. Like, there was no boundaries.
And you think all your failings come from
Oh, 100%.
that?
I have zero trust. I don't trust anybody in the business world because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Like, there aren't many people who have been able to survive in the business that I'm in, like in the organization that I'm in,
Yeah.
let alone thrive. And I've done both of those things. Like, you watch people come in and within 6-8 months, they're gone
Mm-hmm.
because we move fast and we're really, really direct about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to church mode where we become less direct and we become complacent and we don't make fast decisions and we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And now as a business, we're back to moving fast and we're going to have to hurt people's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things as Christians that I feel like we fail at, and I feel like we fail at this in the business world too, is the window of accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You screw up, I need to tell you screwed up and you need to be able to hear it,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Like, if I don't like what you're doing, I need to be able to say to you, I don't like what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is not how I envisioned this. This is not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with that, right? Like,
Yep.
that's
Constructive criticism.
yeah,
Right.
It's just what it is.
and I
Yeah.
shouldn't
In
have
the
to
business
sugarcoat
world.
it for
Right.
you.
Right.
So the problem is sometimes the community that we're in, that we're based in, is
Yeah.
incredibly passive anyway. And so we don't like to be direct. The problem with not being direct is then there's always this confusion on,
Mm-hmm.
am I doing a good job? There's no feedback loop.
Right.
But until it's been
Until something goes wrong.
been over a year and all of the sudden now
Mm-hmm.
we don't like any of what you did last year. We don't like what happened here. And, whenever this happened, you did this instead of doing that. And it's this like dangerous place because now you question everything, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
am I in the right place? Is this what I want to do the rest of my life? So I think we have to shorten that window of accountability, not just in the business world, but in our friendships and in our
yeah.
relationships. From a Christian standpoint, if we are not direct with one another, if we are not honest with one another,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm allowing you to knowingly sin or knowingly manipulate or
Mm-hmm.
dilute whatever the truth
Yeah.
is. It's not good for anybody.
No.
It's not good for
And
anybody.
you have to be, when you're a leader, you have to be willing to say sometimes, that's my fault.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
my
for
fault.
sure.
If like you screwed up,
Yep.
or when you have people working under you and they screw up, ultimately it's still your fault.
Yep.
You have to take accountability.
Worst thing in the world.
So,
One-
but really though, when you look at it, it's actually better because I think most time for me, when I accept that responsibility, I'm not as stressed about it because I feel like,
Because you owned up to
Yeah.
it. And
yeah, because it's like
confessed.
I'm already like taking charge of it.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I'm not saying,
You're taking
okay, yep,
charge of
I know
that.
my driver did this or he didn't, he made
Yeah.
a mistake here, whatever. But that's on me. Maybe I
Yeah.
didn't explain it to him well enough. Maybe,
Mhm.
at the end of the day,
Just because
it's on
you're
me.
showing quote unquote weakness, which I don't think is
Yeah.
weakness.
It's like, I'll take
I
care
think
of
you're
it.
still taking charge of the
Yeah.
situation.
So that usually helps me.
Mm-hmm.
The hard
If I get right to it and just say, you know what, no excuses. I'm not going to give you an excuse why that didn't happen.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I just
get
missed it.
We'll
I
take
missed
care
it.
of it. Yep.
Yeah. So I had a hard one just not long ago. I have an employee who I think is underperforming, and
Mhm.
I was sitting in an executive team meeting, and I voiced that very loudly. I was like, "You guys don't see this. I see it every day."
Yeah.
And the one owner looked right at me and goes, "Well, if you're not leading them well, that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Can I leave now?" Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a hard statement to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah.
But my thing is that person requires a different style of leadership than I'm accustomed to.
Yeah.
I'm accustomed to run, move fast,
Mhm.
send an email, make a statement, move on. I don't need to hold your hand, but this person requires a little bit of hand holding. They
Mhm.
require a little bit of, I don't want to say coddling, but it is a little bit of coddling. They have to, it's that constant reminder, that constant check in, that like, hey, how is it going?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm not that person. I want to just, I've got another task I need
Yeah.
to move on
You.
to.
Yeah.
And so I have to adjust my mindset, and I have to be more relational with those people, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But
There's definitely situations where you've explained everything properly. You even get to the point where, yep, I trust my people to do what they do. They do a great job. But there's always those moments where you have to be like, if I don't go down there
Yeah.
and show my presence
Mhm.
and at least make sure everything's going the way it's supposed to be, it's not going to end well. Like sometimes you have to take that extra accountability, just say, yep, I'm sure everything's fine, but I think I need to go down there and at least be
And
present.
and that show
Yeah.
of presence is a big driver for strong employees too. They're like, okay, he does care. He is here.
Yeah,
checking.
he's not just sitting in his office
right.
making us
Yeah.
do all the work
Yeah.
and, yeah.
The hard part for me in that exact situation is, so it's a new personality profile. It's called the Working Genius, and I don't remember all of the things. But one of the roles is being able to basically drive people and create excitement behind a particular project. That is not me. I'm a wanderer. I want to see, like, I have the grand vision of where we go in 5 years.
Mhm.
I'm the visionary for like, wow, we could improve that process by doing X,
Mhm.
creating that like mindset of all of
The
the things.
long.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can build the system and then I can hand it off. I don't want to have to check in. Are you following the system? I don't want to have to, I need somebody else to come alongside me and do that. The problem is if you don't have that person, it has to be you.
Yep.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flat out.
Yep.
You have to pick it up.
So as far as them shifting to the business
I still hate it.
view, I was going to ask, was that you? Did you have anything to do with it? But by the sounds of it, it had something to do with just those three.
No. So I do think that I had something to do with it, but I think my having something to do with it may have been adverse.
Okay.
I think they were seeing that, okay, so remember when we first did this, I was the only guy.
Right.
I was running a hotel, and at the time, 32 cabins,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And as the cabins grew and we continued to acquire more properties and we started building a customer service team and
Mm-hmm.
all of these other things, it was almost impossible. I was allowing the hotel to be run by the AGM, and I was there. I would pop in, and my office was there, and I would ask lots of questions and do deposits and whatever, but
Yeah.
ultimately was not in day-to-day operations.
Mm-hmm.
So they realized I couldn't do it by myself, and we really needed to hire a permanent hotel GM, and then I could overall kind of like
Oversee it all.
oversee the whole
Yeah.
whole kit and caboodle. Then we bought a second hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and so now he's running 2 hotels, and customer service is kind of the missing link at this point. We've got one guy who's in a more senior role, but he's not super great at it, and I'm trying to develop the team, but as long as this guy's on the team, it's harder to do.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, we decide to hire the girl who's now managing customer service, and she does a bang up job. She is an HR whiz. Like, she knows how to say, she's corporate jargon to a T. She has her own coaching business that she does on
Oh.
the side. So very like profesh,
Yeah.
which I don't like. I love her to death, but I don't like, because that's not me.
That. Yeah.
I want to be able to have a real conversation with you. I don't need to talk about metrics. Can we just talk about numbers?
Yeah.
Right?
Or the conversion.
Yes,
rate.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Like,
yeah.
and I get it that there's value in that around a boardroom table, and maybe, but her and I don't talk like that whenever we're like,
Yeah.
but when we get to the room in quotations, because that's what we call it. We all get in the room. she does that so much. She's more eloquent than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to stomp my foot, yell a little bit. I want to preach.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. I want to preach. They don't want to hear that sermon though. So I think what happened is they were starting to see that I was not able to effectively manage all of those departments
Yeah,
and keep them all operating well,
Yeah.
which is a fair statement because, we're buying a property in another state right now. So I'm focused on that. There's a huge project being undertaken to redo all of the photography and all of the units, and I'm spearheading that. There's a potential laundry overhaul, and I'm spearheading that. So all of these like properties projects that are happening,
Yeah.
I'm trying to manage those, but also manage a maintenance team, customer service team.
You can't oversee it all.
It's not possible.
No, it's not.
But that's okay, right?
I do know that that's okay,
Yeah.
but I don't like it.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean-
the part but that's a me problem.
Yeah.
That's a me
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, but I'm still
I
struggling.
mean, obviously it's growing. So
Yes.
You've done something
Right.
right.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and that's the thing. They'll tell you that like my biggest asset to them is I'll take the hill. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. If they say to me, hey, we're going to buy another hotel and we're going to close in 3 days. Can you handle that? Yep. Got it. Kick in the front door, fire everybody, hire a whole new staff, and we're off and running. Like there's nothing that will slow me. If I have to work 36 straight hours on a desk shift, I'm going to make this happen. They know that about me. And it's probably one of my biggest assets, but I can also build a team. But here's where I fail, and this is the biggest failure. I fail at building culture. I can build the team, I can build the system. But culture to me is second. It's second nature to me, and it should be second nature to everybody else. So our mission statement is to create magical moments. And magic is an acronym, and it stands for all of these things. And
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, and it's cute and it's
Yeah.
wonderful and
Yeah.
it's lovely. But at the end of the day, you have to have integrity.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have integrity, none of those things matter.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of
absolutely.
people that are willing to put in their time.
Yes.
Like say, I'll show up at 9, I'll leave at 5.
Mm-hmm.
But in between those hours, it doesn't mean they care.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it's really, that's a failure of mine too. It's hard for me to understand why people don't care.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we get them to care? Because in my opinion, now this may not be the case for you, and it's certainly not the case for you guys. And I don't know like company culture for where you work. Like is like do you know your mission, vision, values for where you work?
Listen, I'm out there on my own in my car.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah,
So
right?
so are 70% of my employees.
Yeah.
70% of my employees don't have office space. They don't have a place that they report. Housekeepers and maintenance don't have a landing spot. They're out on the road all day long,
Yeah.
right? So how am I going to get them to care about mission, vision, values? How do you do that?
Yeah.
A front desk employee who is they're not minimum wage, but they're an entry level employee.
Yeah.
How do you get them to care about mission, vision, values?
Right.
Because they might only be here for 6 weeks. We had one girl who worked for us, phenomenal, loved her to death. We don't offer health care.
Right.
We don't have 401k.
Right.
We don't have, like,
Well, and I feel like that's
if you want an overnight stay at 40% off, I got you, boo.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's where the missions and values start. You know, maybe if they would invest in
Can't.
that, then you
Honestly, it
Well,
doesn't make
sometimes
sense.
when
I know,
you can
I know.
actually say to them that, you're not always going to work here. This is only
Yeah.
your first job.
Mhm.
So, but if you don't do well at this job, you will not get the next job that helps you climb that ladder. And even when you explain all that to them, doesn't always sink in.
Well, because here's the thing. The workforce is so slim right now, it truly doesn't matter.
hmm
I have a girl that I wish this were a joke, but it's not. She used to work for me at one of the hotels, and she had a mental health crisis and had to leave. She developed a stutter because of this mental health crisis, couldn't answer the phone. Like there were things that she just couldn't do her job.
Mhm.
Now, when I say mental health, I'm talking like this was like scary stuff. Okay. She leaves. She starts to get better. She gets a job at another hotel in the area. Now, I know she's working there because I pretty much know all of the people. I get the call like, hey, do you know this person? Yes, I do. Would you hire her? Probably not. Now, here's like, and I can't share why. I would just say probably not. Well, now I'm out of the hiring. Now she works at our other hotel. She's been through 4 hotels, but we are so desperate for help on the front lines that you just basically hire whoever you can get. Do you think that person cares about mission, vision,
A
values?
warm body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not at all. And so then we have to embody it. So I am, those of you who know this about me, it's my pleasure. You say thank you, or you say, yes, you say thank you. It's always my pleasure. I never say you're welcome. I never say no problem. It's always my pleasure. I learned that at another company that I worked for. I worked for H.H. Gregg. You had to say that before they would even let you on the sales floor. Had to be natural. And I've never looked back. We tried to instill some of those things at the front, just very small. Like when you hear the door open, stand up and smile.
Yeah.
Right.
Simple, right? Can't do it. I know you go through drive-thrus now. It's very difficult to get eye contact.
I
and a
won't go
smile.
through a drive-through. I mobile
Very
order and I go to the counter and I pick it up because I can't.
You know what though? You want to hear something that I've heard? You are now eliminating your chances to speak the gospel and speak the word.
I hear you. I hear
We're
you.
doing self-checkout.
I hear
We're
you.
doing all these
I hear you.
apps.
I'm going to take it. I'm sorry.
you.
I'll find another way to do it. Do I need to go stand on the street corner to make up for it? Because I'm sorry. I'm sorry. At least then I can check my bag before I walk out. And the problem is nobody operates with a spirit of excellence.
Yeah.
When we talk about businesses and how we should operate from a Christian standpoint, the first thing that we should teach every employee that we have, every employee that walks through the door, is all I ask of you is that you do your absolute best every single day. Your absolute best is not sitting on your cell phone. That's not your
Right,
best.
right.
You can do better. I promise you, you can do better without trying. But then we don't have a window of accountability. We're like, well, yeah, I know she was on her phone all night, but we really need somebody to cover that night shift. So if we say something, she might quit. Yeah, she might.
Mm-hmm.
And she may take 2 other people with her. And
But you know what?
Yeah.
If we're still not hitting the bar, if we're still not making what is the window of accountability?
Right.
And then you have people who kill themselves that you can't reward because now everybody wants a participation trophy, right?
That's right.
Right.
So, like, I can't give a raise to somebody on the front desk because they might start making more than somebody else because if they talk about it, everybody wants a raise.
But they're not supposed to talk about it.
In the state of Ohio, that is not illegal. It is not illegal. And
I'm
honestly,
saying it's.
I
you should
encourage
just
people.
know not to talk about.
I encourage people to talk about it. And let me tell you why.
hey, I've asked to discipline people for things like being on their cell phone this and that, and they're like, well,
Yeah.
if you do that to him, then we have to do it to everybody else. Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
that's right.
Listen,
Yeah,
that's the
Darn
absolutely.
point.
Skippy.
Exactly.
Darn Skippy. Here's the reason I tell people to talk about their wage. Because when you come to me, and listen, this has happened with a girl one time. She walks into my office. She was Amish lady. She sits down at my desk. She starts the conversation with, and this is always the wrong way to start any conversation with me, is I am never doing that again about a specific job that I had given her. And I looked right at her and I said, oh, so you don't work here anymore? And she said, excuse me? I said, what you just told me is you don't work here anymore. And she said, no, I'm just telling you I'm not doing that. And I said, right. So you don't work here anymore. And she got quiet. And she goes, well, only do it if I get a raise. I said, okay, so I can send you your termination paperwork now, or you can fill it out in person. Like I can email it to you. You can fill it out in person. Which would you prefer? She said, are you firing me? I said, no, you just quit. You told me you're not going to do your job. Well, not unless you pay me more. So you're quitting. Am I understanding you correctly?
She's not getting that. You're not getting a raise.
Right. And so the thing was she had heard that
She's
somebody
wearing
else
you down.
She heard that somebody else had gotten a raise and she thought she could just come in, ask for it, and get it.
Yeah.
Not how it works.
No.
You're half the performer they are.
Right.
So if you want to know why somebody else is making more money than you, it's because they're doing twice the work or they're doing
They're picking up the work that you're not doing.
right.
Right.
So
I mean, in all honesty.
in my world, in my mind, people who work at the front desk at a hotel, not busy all day.
No.
Yeah, you answer the phone maybe 10 times a day during your shift. You make room keys. Like there's little things you might have to do. But why can't you mop the floor? Well, that's housekeeping's job. Is it?
Run the sweeper.
Because I mop the floor.
I feel like that should be a part of their front desk.
It is.
duty.
It is.
It was on their checklist.
yeah.
So then why isn't it? Why aren't they doing
Because
it?
there's no window of accountability, my
Right.
friend.
Because that was when I was the one receptionist at the dental office. That was,
Yep.
in my little,
Yeah.
own, I don't know, checklist. That was to stock the fridge and this and that and make sure if there was any crumbs on the floor to sweep it. And
Yeah, buddy.
And check the PlayStation and make sure
We-
there's no, little kid smear marks and blah, blah,
We
blah,
also
blah.
had a rule that you had to empty or clean the bathrooms.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do
Hey,
it.
I asked the kid behind the front desk, first of all, is like, is there a good place to get pizza around here?
I don't
That
know.
will deliver to the hotel.
I don't know.
No, there's lots of hotels. You have to look it up on. Pretty much told me to look it up
Google
online.
it. Yeah.
So then I finally figured all that out. Got the pizza. We needed plates and napkins. So I go back down to ask him if he's got any plates and napkins. He points behind the desk. He's sitting behind the desk, points to it. So I go around to the desk and get it myself. Like,
It's the truth,
Help
though.
yourself.
It's the truth, though. The level of service has come down so far, and it's because you can't find people who are willing to do it. And I'll tell you, it used to be that when you worked at a hotel, when you worked at the front desk, and you had to like physically hand somebody a key, and they registered in a little paper book,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
had to do all of the things. Life was different, right?
Mm-hmm. Slower.
You
More
wanted to have a
time.
conversation. Where are you
Yes,
coming from?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I was standing at the front desk of my hotel, one of the hotels yesterday, and there was a guest trying to check in, and their room wasn't ready. It was way before check-in. It wasn't time to check in. So it wasn't a problem that their room wasn't ready. And they're like, well, we've driven a really long way and we just really need to. And so he turned around and said to the front desk agent, are there any other rooms of that same type open that we could put them in and then move somebody else to their room who's not here yet?
Mhm.
There are ways to do this. It's not hard,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And they wanted a
That's
specific
managing.
Yes, they wanted a specific room type. And I was like, okay, well, all 6 of these rooms are exactly the same. Do you have one of those empty? Oh, yeah, I sure do. Okay, go ahead and move them over there. And while she's taking care of that, I'm chatting with them. Hey, where are you coming from? Oh, we're coming from Columbus area. I said, oh, where at? I lived down that way for a little while. And they're like, well, we're from Pataskala. I said, oh, ironically, my mother-in-law used to call it Pat-Alaska because she said the word was too big to read on the sign as you drove by.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, well, a lot of people down that way, like they go to Newark and they just don't say it right. And I'm like, right, it's Nurk. And he laughed and he's like, exactly. And so now I formed a connection with this guy.
Right.
It was really that easy.
Mhm.
His
Yeah.
wife is laughing because he and I are making fun of these, like the way people say these things. And I shouldn't say making fun, but like
Yeah.
pointing out that culturally, we were talking about Worcester and Worcester.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
Worcester or is it Worcester? It's Worcester. It's 100% Worcester. But we were just chatting while she moved that room. Do you know how easy that is?
Mm-hmm.
He felt valued. His
Yep.
time was important. He wasn't just standing there watching you away at the computer.
Right.
Yeah.
He was being, I don't want to say entertained, but there was something that was engaging him. We've lost all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same at the drive-thru.
Mm-hmm.
There was a kid at this McDonald's one time. He still works there. I went through the drive-thru and all I got was a large Coke. Now, I watched the car in front of me as he was handing them their stuff, and he handed them the drink, and then he hands them the straw. Just as they go to grab the straw, he pulls it back. Right? So he's being funny, right? So I was like, I got him. I got his number. So I knew he was going to do it to me. So
Yeah.
I pull up to the window, and just as he goes, like as he puts it out, I wait for a second, snatched it out of his hand real fast. And as I did it, he was trying to pull back. I said, I saw you do it to the guy in front of me. And he laughed, I laughed, and off I went. That's the dumbest thing to remember about a McDonald's trip. That order was probably wrong. Chances are that order was not right.
But that wasn't his job. He
Well, but
probably-
even then, because he was willing to engage in
Right,
some
right.
fashion, I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember if the order was wrong. I remember that he made a joke and it was funny.
And
Yeah.
you didn't care unless they screwed up the Coke. Like if it
Yeah, oh, if
was-
that would've been a
if it was
Diet
root
Coke.
beer or something.
Throwing it back through. No, I'm kidding. Driving around and throwing it back through the window. No.
Yeah. We have to remind ourselves that it's not unchristian to expect somebody to do their job that they
Yeah.
agreed to do.
Correct.
When
Yeah.
somebody gets hired, typically there's no surprises.
No.
You're not,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like you're like, well, we'll hire you and then we'll see what.
and then we'll
Right.
tell you what your job is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want this job? It's a secret job.
Yeah. I mean, you've interviewed that person, you've had a discussion with them,
Mm-hmm.
so they know what to expect going in. And then all of a sudden they don't want to do it. And then they start, oh, well, if I
I-
get more money,
I think oftentimes though
That's what you agreed to.
I think oftentimes we don't prepare them for what we actually expect of them.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, this job's really not that hard. You're just going to answer a couple of phone calls and make some reservations. It's really not that hard.
Yeah, right.
And then when they get there,
I think that's how.
there's a checklist that's 3 pages long of
Yeah.
tasks that they're responsible for.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Not quite what I signed up for. Like, well, honestly, we did a job posting one. This is not a joke, and was not me. Had nothing to do with this. We posted a job posting for an overnight position, and it said, "Love Netflix? Watch it while you're at work." Tons of applications, because on night audit, not a lot of stuff happens. So literally, they're sitting at the front desk, phones propped up, watching Netflix.
Well, heck, our guys do that at work. They're running the saw, whatever, and they got it propped up watching their
Yeah.
golf. And
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. And it worked. It worked. But then they get there and they realize, oh, I don't just get to watch YouTube or Netflix because there's a wedding in house and these guests are not back in their room at 11:30 at night. Now they're running down the hallways and I've got noise complaints, right?
yeah.
So then that expectation changes. And now they're like, well, wait, this isn't what I signed up for. I thought I was going to be an after hours Netflix watcher.
This isn't fun.
Yeah. It's not as fun as you made
Not
it
as
sound.
fun anymore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to point out, I've talked a lot. Thanks for having me back, guys. The parable about the servants who were entrusted with the bags of gold.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be very, very clear that it is no shame to make money for other people.
Yeah.
That's right.
There is no shame in that. So many people feel like they have to start their own business, or they have to. If I'm Cousin Eddie, I'm holding out for a management position, right? But Cousin Eddie, I'm holding out for a management position. Honestly, it is no shame to go work at McDonald's. There is no shame. Like, if you are in need of money, and I told my wife this, I said, if I ever lost my job, I promise you, I would have a job the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be making the money that I'm making today, but we're not going to lose our house.
Right.
We're not going to lose, well, we can't lose our cars, paid for, but we're not going to lose the things that we have because I lost my job. We're going to learn to button down, and we're going to survive on the money that we've got, and we're going to figure this out. I guarantee you, I could walk over to McDonald's right now and be hired before I left that building.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I might only be making minimum wage, but I'll tell you what, I'll put in as many hours as they'll give me, right? That's the difference in the mindset of being willing to work for what you have, being willing to earn.
Well, and right now, of course, we're going through a scare of all these people that are losing their benefits.
Mhm.
They're already trying to figure out ways to
Skate the system.
to keep this going instead of saying, you know what, maybe, just maybe, I need to go out and get a job and actually, support myself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But because we were walking, we actually heard a couple having that very discussion, like, we could do this, we could do that, and we kind of like, can you believe it? Like, people they will not give up on that lifestyle of handouts.
No.
Nope.
They just won't do it.
There's no shame in earning money for other people. I look at my 3 owners, and they are, it's not like they're millionaires or anything like that, but they're wealthy men. Good for them. 2 of them are younger than I am. Really good for them.
Right. Absolutely.
They're going to be able to retire. Their kids are going to be able to have all of the things that, whenever their parents are dead and gone, they're going to have a wealthy inheritance. That's wonderful for them. Just because they have it doesn't mean I should be angry about it and not want to earn more for them.
No, and when you're young,
Right.
you tend to look at those people like, must be nice.
I
You
hear
know how
it.
hard it is to run your own business
Exactly.
or create your own
Yeah.
business.
They have
Keep
all of the
going.
risk. If all of those businesses were to fold today,
Yep.
they lose their houses, they lose
Yep.
their cars. They're on the line for everything.
You
You
know
know,
how-
what I'm on the
all
line
these
for?
employees?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk out unemployed
Yeah.
and go get a job at McDonald's this afternoon.
Yeah. And not to mention, like, everyone says to Chase, oh, it must be so nice being your own business owner. And I'm sure same for Jarvie. And it's
Exactly.
it's like, but I can't ever clock out.
Yeah.
I'm the one doing the scheduling. I'm
Right.
the one
Yep.
that's on call. And I'm the, like, there's
Yep.
never to clock out. Like, it comes probably with more stress than
Yep.
a normal,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
quote unquote 9 to 5 job. Or,
Yep.
Yeah.
Because at 5:00, you clock out.
Right.
And maybe,
Right.
like, if he worked for Roto-Rooter,
Right.
Chase worked for Roto-Rooter,
Yeah.
he might have to be on call where there's an emergency call. He might have to go out twice a week,
Right. Yeah. Not 24/7.
not 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the beauty is he can decide to answer his phone or not.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the same time, a good business owner is going to
Exactly.
take the money when you can get it because it's not
Exactly.
promised tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
Have
do you
that.
really want to leave somebody with sewage flood?
Right.
Listen,
He just texted me. He said, well, as
Yeah, but
soon as
think
you
about
get
it. He
home, I
don't-
immediately have to leave. He's going to a customer, which happens to be his father-in-law.
sure.
So,
But still,
but not
customer's a
father-in-law.
customer.
I'm sorry, grandpa-in-law.
Yeah. A customer is a customer.
Okay,
So
exactly.
here's what he did Thanksgiving 2 years ago. Day before Thanksgiving, I texted him. I was like, dude, I got a problem. He's like, what's that? I'm like, it's sewage coming up out of the floor drain in my basement. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's not good. And I was like, I could call Roto-Rooter, but it's going to be an emergency appointment. It's going to be stupid expensive. I said, could you come on Friday? And he's like, oh, no, I'll just come tomorrow. He's like, I got to load the thing up on the truck, so I don't want to come today because it was already late in the evening. He's like, I'll just come tomorrow. I'm like, dude, you don't have to do that. It's like, it's Thanksgiving. He's like, no, I'd rather do it and just get it out of the way. Dude comes up on Thanksgiving, runs the snake down the drain. Now I'm down there watching him, which I think he should charge more for. When somebody stands and watches, he should be able to charge more for that. But I'm chatting with him while he's doing it, and I'm watching him do it, and he's telling me, he's like, I've had my shirt get caught in this thing, and I'm trying to keep my cool and pull my shirt out of it because it's like constantly twisted. Anyhow, he gets up, he finishes, he gets up, he leaves an invoice, and it was like $350. The last time I had Roto-Rooter there on a standard visit, it was like $900. I can't imagine what they would have charged me for Thanksgiving to do that. And I always tell Chase, I don't want a discount. I want to pay you what you're worth because
And
you
that's-
can't find
and
plumbers.
honestly, a sewer job call, that is $350.
Yeah,
So he didn't.
That's
you know?
and that's. I
Yeah.
told him I never
Yeah.
want a discount when I call you. I'm not calling you because I want you to do it for cheap. I'm calling you because I want to keep your business.
Support you.
I want to keep your business going. Like
Yes.
I still need him to put a water softener in my house, but we'll get to that when we get to it, I guess.
Well, and as you said, you can make the choice of not to answer his phone or not. But
Right.
guess what? You don't answer it,
And then
and then
that's-
that person will say, "Well, yeah, I called him
Exactly.
hours and
Yep.
he didn't answer the phone."
Exactly.
They're telling somebody else that, and they're like, "Well, I won't bother
Exactly.
calling them."
And,
then.
and there's times where
I'll go
he'll
somewhere
call
else.
people and say, "Listen, it's not going to be for like a week and a half, like right now when we're on vacation, you know." And,
Yeah.
But he at least calls them and they say, "Well, thank you so much for at least telling me because
Yeah.
I've called 5 other people
Yep.
and none of them dared
Yeah.
to call me back."
Yeah, you're
you
not
know?
going to call them people back.
And that was him politely declining.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like
And if you want to wait a week and a half, I'm happy to take the job.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
if you need it done now,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not going to happen.
Yep.
That's what, when I was on vacation, Clayton's phone, he's got 2
Oh,
phones.
yeah.
They're always ringing, always ringing. I'm like, can you just put them away?
No, he sells real estate. That's what makes
He's
his
like,
money.
I don't answer those phones. The next person will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then as we were on the airplane on the way home, he said, you fuss about that phone, Mom, but I sold 4 houses while I was in Florida.
That's what I'm saying. And how much money does he make doing that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
You don't stop. Yeah. And it's the same way for me. Again, the unit catches on fire. Guess what? You're answering the phone.
Yeah.
Get a drunk kid knocking on a neighbor's door at 3:00 in the morning. Guess who's answering their phone? This guy.
Yeah.
It's part of the deal. But I look at it as I want to treat other people as I would want to be treated. If it
Right.
were my business,
Yeah.
if this were me operating, then I want to be able to operate. I would wish somebody would treat me. And I go back to just ministry. I talk a lot about how Florence and I, the connection that we used to have, and I could look at her and know what she wanted. She could say something so small to me and I would know exactly what it meant. You value those things so very much. And you just, when you don't have it, when you're missing that, you realize how valuable it truly is.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, our shop manager was on vacation this week, and I don't meddle in the conduct of the shop workers. Like I have my drivers, the people directly under me, so I take care of all that. But as far as shop people, I usually don't meddle in anything.
Sure. Yeah.
But I was already kind of tired. It was Monday. I hadn't slept well, so that might have had a little to do with it. But I looked clear down the aisle, and there's these 2 kids, and they're wrestling each other, like picking each other up,
Yeah.
pushing each other, all this stuff. So for some reason, I went all the way down there, and I got to him like, if you guys want to wrestle,
Take it outside.
you can go home. And the one kid goes, "Oh, we can go home?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can go home." I said, "You're not going to get
But
paid
you're-
for it, but you can
Right.
go home."
Yeah.
You're not coming
And
back.
he kind of looked at me like, "Oh." And I never really done that
It was
before.
almost like a challenge. I can
was.
go home.
Yeah, yeah. But then I followed it up with a little bit of, to at least let them know, like, look, I'm not just coming down hard on you.
Yeah.
I said, you guys got to understand. So the last thing I want to do is call one of your mothers to tell them that you dropped somebody on top of this beam with a huge sharp plate sticking
Yep.
out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I got to call her and tell her you've been impaled on
Yeah.
this beam.
Yeah.
Said, that's not something I want to do.
No.
And I don't
They
think you
never
want that
look
to
at it.
happen either. I
Yeah.
said, you guys got to think about stuff like that. I said, it can happen really quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of you
Horseplay
guys-
is not
yeah.
necessary.
Not
No.
here. Yeah. You can get hurt really bad. And it's just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so sometimes, and I guess my thinking always is people can take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you can instill discipline, but you can give them advice at the same time. Most of them ain't going to take it. Probably when you walk away, they're going to laugh about
Yep.
it or,
What
you
an
know,
idiot.
What an idiot, or he can't tell us what to do. He's not our boss.
Yep.
But it's like, okay, take it or leave it. But at least I know that I did what I thought was the proper thing to do.
Right.
And the Christian thing to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's up to them if they,
Yeah. If one of them decides to
Think
get
it-
impaled on the plate, guess what?
yeah, guess what? It's like, I tried to tell you guys. This is why
Yeah.
I told you, because I care about you.
Right.
I don't want to see anybody,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to experience that.
No.
So that's kind of how I think about it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's so hard to get, especially younger people, to understand anything and to take any sort of accountability. But you still got it. You can never say, well,
Well, since
there's no
they're not
point in doing
listening,
that.
yeah.
There's no point in saying anything.
Yeah.
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 You still have to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard one for me because the one
Mhm.
person that I have that I feel like underperforms, I say to myself all the time, there's no reason to say anything.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I say because it either gets downline vetoed, like they're like, I'm
Right.
not going to do
Yeah.
that, or whatever, and it just doesn't get done. Then I'm mad, but we can't do anything about it. So,
Mhm.
but I have to overcome that. I really do. Like,
It's hard.
say it just to say it.
Mhm.
And the best thing you can do is when you do say it, explain why you're saying it.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
hey, I really feel like we need to do this, that, or the other. And here's why I feel like this is more productive or this is more efficient. It's so hard, though, to get people to pick it up.
Yeah.
So,
And I feel like too, if they do respect you, if again, like when you're busy and something really important's happening
Mhm.
and everybody else is in on it, if you're down there working with them, most of the time you'll gain their respect.
Mhm.
And then when you
Mhm.
do say
Absolutely.
something, they'll listen to you as opposed to the guy that, well, we never see him. He just spends most time in his office, only comes
Mhm.
out when,
Yeah.
So that's most time when you're never going to get them
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're disconnected.
You're building
Yeah.
a relationship.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah. So you
they
lead by
realize it or
example,
not.
basically.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it's still very hard.
yeah.
Like I said, it's hard. It's hard to win, these young people's, acceptance and their approval, and to where they think, oh, you know what, you might have a point.
Yeah.
It might be worth something to, because most time I tell them all the time. I said, my guess is you don't always want to work here.
Well, and that's what I was about to
You're
say.
going to want to move up the ladder.
Mhm.
If you're going to get married, have kids, have a life
Yeah.
for yourself, you don't want to be stuck at this entry level job for the rest of your
Right.
life. How
Right.
are you going to live on that?
Yeah.
So, you gotta show them that it's like, and that's sometimes what I have a problem with. It's like, yeah, I work outside in the shop. I'm a working manager, but say after I unload a truck, yeah, I can go in my office, shut the door, and I got air conditioning.
Hey, there have to be perks.
Right. But, and a lot of times I feel bad. The first year I worked there, I would not turn that air conditioner on because I didn't want anyone to think I was getting special privilege.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought I'd lose them.
Mhm.
But I've got to the point where I'm like, you know what? You've earned this position.
Right.
Right.
You didn't
Exactly.
get here because
Yeah.
you didn't care.
Yeah.
Because you weren't
Yeah,
willing.
your
to go
dad
the
doesn't
next
own the
step.
business, and you
Right.
just got that
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
air conditioned office.
So,
Yeah.
that's been hard for me to just be like,
Mhm.
yeah, you can enjoy some of the perks of your position
along
because
with it.
you've worked hard for it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you don't have to feel guilty about this thing.
No. Beth, what were you saying? You remember?
It's gone now.
It's gone now.
Darn
I'm
it.
sorry.
Darn
That's all
it.
right.
That's okay. She's not talking into her microphone anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of messed
Her
You
mic-
just barely hear.
All right.
Michael, I have to ask because
Yeah.
I was talking to Beth a couple 2 days ago,
Mhm.
day and a half, about my situation at work. And I said, it's just so discouraging because I was going to ask you, like, do you feel like your job position, do you feel like that was coming from God? Like, do you think that was an answered prayer, or maybe not even an answered prayer, but you're like, this was all God?
What
that's
part?
your position that you, like,
That I'm doing right now?
3 or 4 years ago when you,
Oh yeah, 100%.
but now you're looking at it like, wait a minute.
No, here's the okay. So I'm mostly over what's happening right now. Like
Uh-huh.
I was able to like really decompress and like
Process.
think about it
Yeah.
and like, you know what? If it is what's going to happen, you know what? I'm not going to be without a job,
Right. That is
right?
what it is.
Like I'm not going to be. So 4 years. When did I start with them? I started in 2019.
So I guess 6 years ago?
So when I started that job, I had put in a 4-week notice. It was 3 days into that 4-week notice when I got the email or the text message saying, hey, we've got this thing that we want you to come do for us.
Mhm.
So I had a job lined up.
Yeah.
But my plan was full-time ministry. That was,
Yeah.
And then I learned real quick, the church can't afford full-time ministry. Not with 5 kids, they sure can't. So we knew I was going to have to do something at least part-time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just to make ends meet. And then so when I started out there, and then it just continued to evolve and evolve and evolve. One of the things that I always did anytime I was offered a promotion
Mhm.
or any type of change of status, they would say, they would slide you the offer letter.
Mhm.
What do you think? And I'm like, well, you know what I think. Like, more money is always better, right? I'm never going to tell you no for more money.
Mm-hmm.
But it is going to take away from my family. And I would say, I need to talk to my wife first. And I would
Mm-hmm.
step away and I would call my wife and we would talk. And then I would usually send them a follow-up email like, hey, chatted with my wife. Here's what I think. And then we were always able to come to an agreement. I think what's changing now is doing 2 things. It is preparing me. Okay, this is going to sound like a lot. This is going to sound like a lot. Is preparing me for not always being on top, because I have been on top in literally everything in my life for how many years?
Mm-hmm.
Senior pastor of the church.
Mm-hmm.
I am my mom and dad's boss.
Mm-hmm.
My dad is my congregant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a level of like
Yeah.
a checkpoint. I don't have a checkpoint. So I think it's him preparing me for that. It's humbling me just a little bit. But I also think it's preparing me for the next season of life, which in ministry, again, I'm just kind of laying some stuff out for you. I don't know how long I'll be here. I'm not saying I'm leaving, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Like if he calls me out of here tomorrow, like that's going to change my life.
For sure.
And I think he's preparing me for that next, whatever that next season is, the way that I take care of my family, the way that I take care of my kids, like being able to be present with them. Like I would have never taken 3 days off in order to take my kids to Great Wolf Lodge by myself.
Right.
Like if my wife ain't going, I ain't going. Right. So there's this, I know I can feel that there's a shift. So I think he is preparing me for something that is something far beyond anything that I could even comprehend. Good, bad, or indifferent. I think he's preparing me for something,
That's right.
something
Good.
different. So
That's a good way of looking at it, because that's what I'm struggling with. I'm like, and you guys were here through it. I'm like, this is coming from God. Like it was 11 years ago. I was doing the shadowing there, and I'm like, oh well, I wish I could work here full time. And now I'm like, well, okay, well it's part time now, but that's what I want to work part time. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't have even taken this job. Maybe I should have just stayed at the post office. But I guess I just need to look at it differently, and maybe.
It's all about
how is he
perspective.
preparing me
It really is
for a
all about
different time?
perspective, because you're right. What's the next season? Maybe the next season is another office job. The doctor might be worse, but the benefits may be better or whatever.
Right.
And so you're preparing yourself for your mindset so that you can handle those challenging situations. Yeah. Again, I don't like where I'm at right now. I don't like what's happening, but I'm ready to embrace it. I'm not ready to love it, but I'm ready to embrace it.
It's coming at you whether you're
exactly.
ready or not. Anyway,
and here's the thing. I'm either going to swallow it or they're going to force feed it to me.
Yeah.
So it's my decision. Like I'm not going to stop progress.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
Well, another thing I always tell people, if they're, crying about their job and they're upset and they're going to quit, and I'm like, I get it. You don't have to stay here. You have every right to go improve, to better yourself. But as long as you're here, keep doing the good job that you're doing.
Yep.
Keep doing everything you're supposed to be doing. Don't get involved in shop drama and all these negative things that, guess what? That could affect what happens next. So keep doing what you're capable of doing. And when it's time, you'll find that next job that could be the job that you're supposed to be at. But if you don't do that, you may not end up there.
Yeah. And, like I was telling Beth, like, maybe I just need to suck it up because, I am getting my weekends off. I am, getting those Sundays off that I wanted so desperately. And so I just have to look at it with a different mindset. And, it's not like I say all the time, like, if I was doing this 5 days a week at this,
I'd be crazy.
I would. And, and the one girl that I work with, she's like, Sid, I don't know how you do it. And I'll say it right in front of the doctor. Like, he's kind of lingering too. And I'm like, I wouldn't do it if it was 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, but it's 2 days a week, and then I'll come in like a third day for probably 6-7 hours. And honestly, I feel like the pace is just as fast because I'm trying to get as much stuff as done
in a shorter window.
I can,
yeah.
But maybe it's just like the way that you look at it.
What I have been putting through my own brain is that when I look at my attitude towards the situation that I'm dealing with, I go in my office and shut my door. What am I worried about those people doing when they go to meet with the 3 owners whenever I'm not around? I'm worried about what they're saying. When I shut myself in my office and I'm not talking to them, what do you think they're saying?
Right.
Saying like, he's really distant. I don't know what's happening.
What's the matter with him?
He's
What
really,
did we do?
he seems angry all of a
Yeah, what'd we
sudden.
do?
Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And it's out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm only talking to you when we have business to attend to, and I'm not like, we're not associating outside of that. So I'm not helping myself by maintaining that. Like,
they might be worried they're going to lose you.
right. That's what I'm saying. Like, they might be looking
they
at it
might
like,
be
oh
like,
man, what's going on with him?
Is
Like,
he going to walk out
Yeah.
today?
Yeah.
Like, we don't want that.
What's on his mind?
maybe they'll offer me more money.
It's not always the answer, Michael.
Well, I was just, you can always hope though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I truly believe that we are all where we're supposed to be.
Yeah. I
Sometimes
do too.
it's takes a while to figure out why.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're
I
for
agree.
that reason.
Yeah.
For such a
Well,
time
you
as
know,
this.
and
Yeah.
sometimes you look at that, shop worker that just, they come in, all they got to do is go to their station and do their job. Nobody hassles them. Nobody asks any more out of them. You think, man, that must be nice.
Yeah.
But then,
And then you do it, and you're looking for value in life.
right. But it's like, but we wouldn't be leader if we're the leaders we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to be
That's what I
in
mean.
that role. It's just,
Right.
we were in that role, and guess what? We moved out of it pretty quick.
Mhm. Because
that's
we
kind
wanted
of
better
people
for
we
ourselves.
Are. It's just that's who we are, especially
Yeah.
Christian people. I mean,
Right.
you're always looking to exceed and do
Mhm.
better and be an example. So
Mhm.
yeah, you're going to be picked out of the bunch to, take care of the next thing, given a little more responsibility.
Mhm.
I worked for Walmart for many years. As a matter of fact, they hired me when I was 17 years old, but you couldn't work there until you were 18. So they didn't know. I mean, it was on my application. They had my birthday, but apparently that person couldn't do math. I don't know. So they offer me a job, and then they call me like 4 hours later and like, hey, I'm sorry, but we can't actually hire you for another 6 months until you turn 18. So on my 18th birthday, I started working at Walmart. I was working in the jewelry department, just selling jewelry. Like I didn't have that. That was where they put me. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Wasn't there very long before they were moving me to was Department 82 at the time. It was basically all the checkout, the candies, all of the impulse buys at the front end. Then I became the grocery department manager, and then I became the inventory manager, and so I inventoried all of the or managed all of the inventory in the store. And I piloted a new inventory management system with Walmart. I got to go to Bentonville, Arkansas to pitch it. I mean, it was super cool, all of the things that I did. And then I decided I didn't want to work for Walmart anymore, and I quit with no perspectives. And I just took some time off, just didn't work for a little while. And the store manager from the New Philly Walmart at the time, she's retired since, she called me in October, and she said, I need a favor. I said, okay, what's that? She said, I need you to come and run the electronics department through Christmas. Electronics, count me in. Heck yeah, right? Like that was the year the Wii came out. Like I was stoked to get to go do that. They forgot to tell me that they hadn't told the department manager he had been fired.
We're going to leave that up to you.
He did not yet know that. So I come in and I don't start as the department manager, although they told me this is what I'm going to do. Like, we're just going to have you just get the lay of the land. So I do. And I know the department manager. His name was Mike. Mike was a wonderful guy. He was a little on the slow side. Like he just was like very methodical about everything he did and was not in a super big hurry. There were TVs in the back from like 1997. I mean, it was rough stuff for a little while. We were still selling a handful of regular screen tube TVs at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Rear projection was kind of like the in deal, and plasma was the newest technology at the time. Okay. So it was a weird time. And so they finally told him, and he came out, and they just demoted him. They did not fire him. And he's like, do you care if I stay on? And I was like, no, man, you stay on all you want. Like, cool, great, wonderful. He only lasted about 4 days. And he was just like, I can't do this. It's not, because people were like, wait, you're not the department manager anymore. He's the department manager. Like, it was uncomfortable for him. And I realized in that moment when I got that phone call that they asked me to come back and run that department, I will never work a basic job. It's not in me, right? Like that's the leadership skill that I have.
And even if you try.
Right. And I have, when I came to the company I'm working at, it was supposed to be to consult on streamlining their housekeeping and breakfast departments. And it was supposed to be 3 days a week. And then all of a sudden I'm working 5 days a week. And now I'm managing an entire empire of hotels and Airbnbs. How does that happen?
Well,
because you don't know when to stop. That's
Right.
how it happens. And if I went to McDonald's today and I got a job at McDonald's, I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm saying it's just the way that it is. I actually scared a lady with that. I did a job interview for a cash advance company. And she said, so why should we hire you? And I said, well, probably because you need help doing your job. And she said, what? I said, here's what I've learned. You'll hire me to do whatever the job is that you hire me for. Give me 3 months and you'll have me traveling, helping you with whatever tasks you need help with, because I can't stay put. And she laughed and hired me. And guess what?
that's what you did.
It was true. It was absolutely true. I won't tell the other part of that story. Just realizing how stupid I was at the beginning of that job. Oh, Lord, help me.
All right. So
How long was that episode?
an hour, 13 minutes.
Had a feeling we ran over a little bit.
It's all right. I do got to get going. Chase has a septic system
Oh,
to go pump.
whatever. Does he really want to do it?
No.
That's the question.
No.
So the longer we are,
But he should because they're family. So
is that why?
yeah. He'd do it anyway. Whose turn is it to pray?
Well, Michael,
Not mine. Not mine.
That's
Not
true.
mine. Not mine.
Yeah.
Special guest.
Not mine. Okay. All right.
All right. All right.
I'm over here trying to bid on MacBed. Do you mind?
Yeah.
I thought you got kicked out.
Now
Did
what do you-
Not
sign
yet. Not
Wait
yet.
a
They
minute.
haven't-
Wait a
Then
minute.
they've definitely forgotten.
Now what do you?
Wait a minute. You got kicked out of MacBed?
We're not going to
Do we
talk
have
about
time
it.
for
We're
this
not
story?
gonna talk about it.
No,
No,
no.
we
No,
can't
we
tell the
have
story.
to.
We don't know when
can't
you're
tell
going to
the
be
story.
back, so now
I
you got to
can't
tell
tell-
us.
He didn't get kicked out. He's
I can't
still
tell
on
the
there.
story. Not yet. Because it hasn't been resolved. So,
It's an ongoing investigation.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, the investigation is ongoing. And my wife still doesn't know.
No.
She doesn't? Oh, no. Okay.
Where's
Let-
that integrity?
Okay, so here's the thing. Well, because it's a surprise, it was meant to be a surprise during baptisms.
But it was a surprise.
And it was a surprise to me instead. So I'll put it this way. I bought something that was a little on the expensive side, but it was going to benefit everybody. Okay.
Our sweet tooth.
Yeah, it was going to benefit a couple of us.
That's
and
how he's going to start it.
And Sid and I,
Oh,
this is how I'm telling the story to my wife too, by the way. So you can
Michael,
just-
remember when I said it's okay to say it's all my fault?
oh, it is this was
don't
100%
be
my
dragging
fault.
Sid in.
No.
He drug me in.
I did.
already.
I did before, and I did anything else before I even saw it. I dragged Sid into
You
it.
said I may or may not have bought blank.
Yes,
You
I said.
did not
No, that's not true. I said that I had a business proposition.
Yeah.
Because you may or may
Because I
not
may or may not
have
have.
bought
So-
blank.
So, Bethel Belongings, Sid's company, was going to help me recover some of my loss. However, the thing didn't work, and so it's a total loss.
Oh.
And so it's a
So now he's
It's a
in
thing.
with it with MacBid.
yes,
like, hey,
trying to
I
get
bought
it
this
trying to
thing.
get it resolved with them.
Uh-huh.
And if you go about it in a way that they don't like, they will suspend your account. So, but then I'm just going to bid as Sid, so it doesn't matter.
I think you should use Dan's because he's got free membership or not free.
Yeah, he's got.
He's got free membership.
I bought it too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because I bought a bunch of stuff in Akron. I had to have it transferred down.
So this very expensive thing does not work.
It does not work. So here's the thing: it was listed as like new, factory sealed.
Factory sealed.
It was not
Yes.
factory sealed, and it was not like new when we opened it.
But you can't return it.
So here's the thing: you can, but they were giving me a hard time about it because of the length of time that had passed. Because we bought it, but we didn't. We picked it up, but we didn't open it for 4 or 5 days. It's a 3-day window, and so they absolutely would not let me. As a matter of fact, they said to me, "Well, you should have opened it while you were here," which would have been impossible. It took us 20 minutes to get it open here with tools. We would have never been able to get it open
Wow.
there, and it appeared to be factory sealed. Did it
Yeah.
not?
Yes, it did.
But it 100% was not.
Wow.
So
Eh.
there we are. There's the story. Push the button. Get me out of here. Because now I'm going to get in trouble. We're editing this out, right?
Yeah. As long as you know how.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and we thank you for your presence in this place. Lord, I just want to continue to lift up the businesses in our community, Lord. It is not easy to be a small business, Lord. It is not easy to be a big business. Father, I pray that you give guidance and wisdom to all of those who are leading people inside of our community and in industries that are just sometimes difficult.
Yes, Lord.
Father, I pray that you just continue to guide us as we speak into the lives of people around us. Lord, lift us up, allow us to lift up others. But Lord, allow us to lift up your name
Yes.
more than anything.
Yes, Lord.
Allow us to show the love of Christ in all things, business, social, Lord, whatever it may be. We thank you and we praise you. We give you all the honor and glory in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Hey friends, Pastor Michael again. If you've enjoyed this podcast, you should consider joining us on Sunday mornings. Our address is 1943 North Water Street Extension in Yorksville. We'd love to have you join us for an in-person service.